Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session, continuing our journey through N-Town. N-Town plays 31 to 34, which is an almost entirely artificial breaking up of what is a latter stage of a passion play, what's known as passion play number 2, and also bits of another play from another place that get wedged in places. So this is where our neat narrative that we've been going with Passion Play number 1 and 2 starts getting a bit more fragmentary as Passion Play concludes, and then the editor of this manuscript tries to continue the sequence with another play source, and it gets a little disjointed in terms of where bits are coming from. You may be listening to this on the podcast, you may be watching this on video on YouTube. Hopefully it will be engaging in whichever medium you are choosing to enjoy this particular experience in. Reading today from N-Town Plays 31 to 34, we have reading Pilate, Veronica, Magdalen or Magdalen, depending on how the text wants us to pronounce it, and Longeus is...
Hello, my name is Lynn. I live in the Northwestern United States, and I'm a mild-mannered English teacher by day.
Reading Satan, Annas, Belial, and Joseph of Aramathea is...
Hello, I'm Helen Good. I'm a historian, and I'm in sunny Yorkshire.
And continuing the progress of referring to effectively the same character under different names, reading Demon as well as Jesus, Anima, Christi, and Nicodemus is...
Hello, I'm Valentina. I am an Italian actor and voiceover artist in London.
Reading First Doctor, Judeus number 1, Mulier number 1, Jestes, and First Soldier is... muted at the moment.
Aliki, Chapple. I am a Greek actor and theatrical translator based in Lancashire, also sunny.
Reading Second Doctor, Mother number 2, Judeus number 3. Sadly, there the number system fell down. John and Third Soldier is...
Hi, I'm Eric, and I am here.
Reading Caiaphas, Simon and Centurio is...
Hi, Helen Scott, based in Suffolk.
Reading Judeus number 4, Fourth Soldier, and Maria is...
Briony in Lincolnshire.
Reading Pilate's Wife, Third Doctor, Judeus number 2, Dysmas, and Second Soldier is...
Rachael, Nicole, actor, New Jersey.
And I'm your host, Robert Crichton. I will endeavour to prompt as we dive from different numbers of remarkably similar characters, and we all get terribly, terribly confused. I will also be reading stage directions and generally moving us forward. Have I missed anyone out? No, I don't think I have. Good. So without further ado, we're going to go into what is, called Play 31, but we pretty much continue straight off from where we left off last time. Herod has basically found that Jesus was not suitably entertaining enough and has passed him back to Caiaphas and Annas, who now have to go all the way back to Pilate so that they can get him arraigned. General warning that some of the material coming up will be quite violent, either in tone or thought, and may cross over or appear to cross over into areas of anti-Semitism and other early problems that this text will deliver. We do not necessarily endorse any of the opinions voiced by the play. We are just here to explore what it is doing. So, play 31. Here entereth Satan into the place in the most horrible wise. And while that he playeth, they shall done on Jesus' clothes and ourest a white cloth and lead him about the place. So Jesus is being led about the place while Satan fills in. And then to Pilate by the time that that his wife hath played. So there's business going on while business is going on. So Jesus is being having his clothes taken off and changed after his whipping, and Satan speaks.
Thus I reign as a Russian with a ringing rout, as a devil most doughty dread is my dint. Many a thousand devils to me do they lout, brenning in flames as fire out of flint. Whoso serve me, Satan, to sorrow he is sent, with dragons in dungeons and devils full dark. In brass and in brimstone the breathals be brent, that one in this world my will for to work. With mischief on mould here members I mark, that jappen with Jesus, that Judeus sold. Be he never so crafty nor cunning clerk, I harry them to hell as traitors bold. But there is one thing that grieveth me sore, of a prophet that Jesu men call. He paineth me every day more and more with his holy miracles and workers all. I had him once in a temptation, with gluttony, with covetise and vainglory. I assayed him by all ways that I could done, and utterly he refused and gan me defy. The rebuke that he gave me shall not be unquit. Somewhat I have begun, and more shall be due. For all his barefoot going, from me he shall not skip, but my dark dungeon I shall bring in him to. I have do made ready his cross that he shall die upon, and 3 nails to take him, that he shall not start. Be he never so holy, he shall not throw me gone, but with a sharp spear he shall be smet to the heart. And sithen he shall come to hell, be he never so stout, and yet I am afeard, and he come, he will do some wrack. Therefore I shall go warn hell that they look about, that they make ready chains to bind him within lake. Hell, hell, make ready, for here shall come a guest. Hither shall come Jesus, that is cleped God's Son, and he shall be here by the hour of noon. And with thee here he shall won, and had full shrewed rest.
And here shall a devil speaken in
Out
hell.
upon thee, we conjure thee, that never in hell we may him see. For an he once in hell be, he shall our power breast.
Then have I go too far. But some will help, I have a shrewd turn. My game is worse than I went here. Lo, I may say my game is lorn. Lo, a while yet I have cast. If I might Jesus' life save, hell gate shall be spared fast, and keep still, although I have. To Pilate's wife I will now go, and she is asleep, abed full fast. And bid her withouten words mo to Pilate, that she send in haste. I shall assay, and this will be, to bring Pilate in belief. Within a while ye shall see how my craft I will go pref.
And here shall the devil go to Pilate's wife, the curtain drawn as she lieth in bed, and he shall no deen make, but she shall, soon after that he is come in, maken a ruly noise, coming and running of the scaffold, and her shirt and kirtle in her hand, and she shall come before Pilate like a mad woman, saying thus:
Pilate, I charge thee that thou take heed. Deem not Jesu, but be his friend. If thou judge him to be dead, thou art damned without an end. A fiend appeared me beforn, as I lay in my bed sleeping fast. Since in the time that I was born, was I never so sore aghast. As wildfire and thunder blast, he came crying unto me. He said, they that beat Jesus or bound him fast, without an end damned shall be. Therefore away herein thou see, and let Jesu from thee clear pace. The Jews they will beguile thee, and put on thee all the trespass.
Have mercy, mine wife, forever ye be true. Your counsel is good, and ever hath be. Now, to your chamber, ye do so, and all shall be well, dame, as ye shall see.
And here we will briefly pause just to take in this moment. So to save as Satan's gaff, hell, from the arrival of Jesus, Satan is trying to save Jesus.
Yeah.
He's trying to change the plan so they can't be redeemed. He can't redeem mankind. I mean, wow, well played, Satan. Well played. And so you have this sort of interesting dream that Pilate's wife has, which seems to be semi-performed there. We have a curtain. We have various stages. This one has a curtain, and they show her in bed, and she's woken up, and it's a really, really interesting addition here. Helen.
I mean, what I found fascinating was that this wasn't Satan's idea originally. He has this great speech about how he's going to take Jesus down to hell. And then he says, okay, hell, stand back, he's coming. And the devils of hell then say, this is a bad idea, boss. We really don't.
We're not ready.
Really
don't
ready. Want this man down here.
I love this because it covers a theological point that's always troubled me. I mean, why is Judas the bad guy if he's helping to fulfill God's plan, right? So Satan is the bad guy. He is trying to thwart the divine plan. I love it.
So
Lynn.
I take it in like previous explorations of other passion plays, this twist is has not come up before. Is that?
Oh, I'm fairly certain it's unique, or as far as we know, to N-Town. I mean, it may exist in other things that don't survive.
That was my question, because it's a weird little sort of reverse psychology kind of moment. I mean, we like mostly in Christian mythology, Pilate's wife is kind of one of the good guys. Don't condemn him. This man has done nothing. But that she's being manipulated by the devil to it's very odd.
I mean, it does appear in various sources, and the basic root of it is biblical. It does arrive from Matthew, but it's not amplified by any other text. Alan, then.
Yeah, you to a certain extent answered the question, because I couldn't bring to mind any biblical reference that have got anything of this nature whatsoever in it.
It's amplified by a number of different texts in between. N-Town does sample a lot from the Northern Passion and the Gospel of Nicodemus and things like that. So there's various interesting other sources that do a lot more with it. I think it just mentions it vaguely in passing. Helen.
Yeah, there's a similarity in the way the fall, Adam and Eve, is justified. If the apple hadn't been taken, then Mary would never have been Queen of Heaven. Therefore, the apple being taken was a good thing. It's a really twisted bit of logic, but...
That's what happens when you think about things for just too long. Rachael.
I was just going to say, because, we've had these, demonic characters show up so many times, not just in like the N-Town plays, because I think we had Satan in one of the ones from last week, but just how the imagery of hell, or like these demonic characters, the playwrights get so creative with them. They take so much liberty with them, and they always do something interesting with them, with those characters.
I think it's always easier to describe hell than it is heaven, in that sense as well. You've got burning lakes, you've got, the annex, all sorts of. I could go on for ages on that. I'm not going to because we need to move on. Any additional thoughts in the room, Valentina?
I just wanted to say quickly that Satan is weirdly likable in this, and especially because we've read some of this before. I mean, not what we're reading today, but in respect, in comparison to Pilate or some of the other characters that are human and evil, he's got a sense of humor. He's a weirdly likable character.
Mm. And yes, you bring up, the character of Pilate. Pilate's character may not remain consistent across the different texts as we read them. Pilate comes across in different ways depending on which text we're reading. Anyway, here, and again, we're getting to loaded language and the way they other various characters in this play. Here, the Jews bring Jesus again to Pilate, and by that they mean the various doctors and priests, Annas and Caiaphas, etc.
Sir Pilate, good tidings thou hear of me, of Herod the king, thou hast good will, and Jesus he sendeth again to thee, and biddeth thee choose him to save or spill.
Yeah, sir. All the poor lieth now in thee, and thou knowest our faith he hath near shent. Thou knowest what mischief thereof may be. We charge thee to give him judgment.
Sirs, truly ye be to blame, Jesus thus to beat, despoil, or bind, or put him to so great shame. For no fault in him I find. Nay, Herod's nother, to whom I sent you, the fault in him could find right none, but sent him again to me by you, and ye well know, as ye well know, every one. Therefore understand what I shall say. Ye know the custom is in this land, of your Pasch day that is near hand, what thief or traitor be in bond for worship of that day shall go free away without any price. Now then, methinketh it were right to let Jesus now go quite, and do him no more despite. Sirs, this is mine advice. I would weet what you say.
And here all they shall cryen,
Nay!
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 Hey.
Deliver us the thief Barabbas, that for manscloth prisoned was.
What shall I then with Jesus do? Whither shall he abide or go?
Jesus shall on the cross be done. Crucificator we cry each one.
Sirs, what hath Jesus done amiss?
And all the people cry,
Crucifixion! Crucifixion! At once!
Sirs, sin algates ye wollen so, putting Jesus to woe and pain? Jesus a while with me shall go. I will him examine betwixt us twain.
And here Pilate taketh Jesus and leadeth him into the council house, and saith,
Jesus, what sayest now? Let's see. This matter now thou understand. In peace thou might be for me, but for thy people of thy land. Bishops and priests of the law, they love thee not, as thou mayst see, and the common people against thee draw. In peace thou might be for me, this I tell thee plain. What sayest, Jesus? Why speakest not to me? Knowest not I have power on the cross thee to do? And also I have power to let thee forth go. What canst thou here saying?
On me poor thou hast right none, but that my Father hath granted before. I came my Father's will to fulfill, that mankind should not spill. He that hath betrayed me to thee at this time, his trespass is more than is thine.
Ye princes and masters, taketh heed and see how Pilate in this matter is favourable, and thus our laws destroyed might be, and to us all unrecurable.
Here Pilate letteth Jesus alone, and goeth unto the Jews, and saith,
Sirs, what will ye now with Jesu do? I find him but good. I can find in him but good. It is my counsel ye let him go. It is ruth to spill his blood.
Pilate, methinks thou dost great wrong against our law thus to fortify, and the people here is so strong, bringing thee lawful testimony.
Yeah, and thou let Jesus throw us pace. This we will and upholden all. Thou shalt answer for his trespass, and traitor to the emperor we shall thee call.
Now then, since you will none other way, but in all wise that Jesus must die, Artides, bring me water, I pray thee, and what I will do ye shall see.
And someone brings some water.
As I wash with water my hands clean, so guiltless of his death I must be.
The blood of him must be on us, and on our children after us.
And here we go, full Mel Gibson. They all cry, Yah, Yah, Yah. Then Pilate goeth again to Jesu, and bringeth him thus saying,
Lo, sirs, I bring him here to your presence, that ye may know I find in him none offence.
Deliver him, and let us go on the cross that he were due.
Sirs, would ye your king I should on the cross don?
Sir, we say in that we have no king but the emperor alone.
Sirs, in all gates it must be so, we must sit and our office do. Bring forth to the bar that are to be damped, and they shall have here judgment.
Here they shall bring Barabbas to the bar, and Jesu, and and the two thieves, yes, and in their shirts bare-legged, and Jesus standing at the bar betwixt them. And Annas and Caiaphas shall go into the council house, where Pilate sitteth.
Barabbas, hold up thy hand, for here at thy delivery thou dost stand.
And he hold up his hand.
Sirs, what say ye of Barabbas, thief and traitor bold? Shall he go free, or shall he be kept in hold?
Sir, for the solemnity of our Pascha day, be our law, he shall go free away.
Barabbas, then I dismiss thee, and give thee license to go free.
And off he goes.
Dysmas and Jestes, thereas he stands, the law commandeth you to hold up your hands. Sir, what say ye of these thieves twain?
Sir, they both be guilty, we say.
And what say ye of Jesu of Nazareth?
Sir, we say he shall be put to death.
And can ye put against him no trespass?
Sir, we will order that he shall be put upon the cross.
And everyone cries in a great voice, Yah, Yah, Yah.
Jesu, thine own people have depraved all that I have for thee said or moved. I charge ye all at the beginning, as ye will answer me beforn, that there be no man shall touch your king, but if he be knight or gentleman born. First, his clothes ye shall have done, and making him naked for to be. Bind him to a pillier as sore as ye maun, then scourge him with whips that all men may see. When he is beaten, crown him for your king, and then to the cross ye shall him bring. And to the cross thou shalt be fast, and on 3 nails thy body shall rest. On through thou right hand go, and through thy left hand also. The thread shall be smet the hour of both thy feet, which nail thereto be made full meet. And yet thou shalt not hang alone, from either side of thee shalt be one. Dysmas, I now deem thee that on his right hand thou shalt be, and Jestes on the left hand hanged shall be on the mount of Calvary, that men may see.
And here Pilate shall rise and go to his scaffold, and the bishops with him. And the Jews cry for joy with a great voice, and harass him, and pull off his clothes, and bind him to a pillar, and scourge him, one saying thus.
Doeth gladly, our king, for this is your first beginning.
And when he is scourged, they put on a cloth of silk and set him in on a stool and put a crown of thorns on his head with forks. And the Jews kneeling to Christ, taking him a sceptre and scorning him. And then they shall pull off the purple cloth and do on again his own clothes, and lean the cross on his neck to bear it, and draw him forth with ropes. And then shall come, which we'll come to in just a moment. We'll pause there. Yes, when I was going relatively light-heartedly the full Mel Gibson there, the way the chorus of people is used, it's incredibly unpleasant as an effect. It's a very effective effect, but it's the way this goes from what appears to be a crowd scene, even though we've got primarily only a few primary speakers, but then to this smaller scene with Jesus and Pilate. It's again the way this play goes from big spectacle to much smaller. It's like it's zooming in and out. It continues to be quite filmic in that way. Briony, and I think I saw Rachael earlier as well.
That also plays on this whole thing of nobody wanting to take the blame or the responsibility for this decision. This idea of like everybody's calling for it. So they're less personally guilty.
Yes, we have a very contentious line of dialogue in there. The blood of him must be on us and on our children after us. Which is that does not go down well. It is one of those positions that is used and has been used over the centuries as a reason for persecution. Rachael.
No, I was gonna say, because Pilate is a Roman guy, isn't he? Or he's that he's depicted more sympathetically when at this time they were the occupiers of this country that this is supposed to take place in. And then I also wanted to say, this is something that I've looked at, like as we've been going on with these other plays, and because this anti-Semitism is a continued theme because we're in the Passion, that the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church at least, still does have that opinion that it's like Jewish people's, that they put that blame on Jewish people for this and not the Romans. I come from like a multi-faith household, so that was always like a thing to sit in that and then hear them say that. But I just mean the Catholic Church still has that anti-Semitic line going.
Other thoughts from the room? Anyone want to particularly leap in on this particular area of the text? It's use of group, use of individuals. Valentina.
Yeah, the use of the mob is really interesting. At the same time, I don't know if I agree with Rachael that Pilate is portrayed in any kind of more in a sympathetic view, because that is a thing that has always bugged me, is the fact that like he keeps going like, oh, I don't find any fault on him, like, but then when it's time to give out judgment, it kind of goes a bit overboard. It could have had him crucifixed without having the whole beating up and stuff, and flogging. But yeah, it's this play goes from like, it's interesting. This play, like, it's got like these dark moments, but it also have quite a lot of lightheartedness, because the beginning with Satan was not quite so dark, and then it moves in and out of this stuff quite quickly. And I think it is because of the use of the crowd.
Lynn.
Just to agree with Valentina that Pilate seems to be trying to defend what's right, but then when he gives in, he's like, yeah, beat him and torture him and humiliate him and crucify him. I mean, I don't know if the writers of this, the creators of this text knew this, but crucifixion was not a common form of execution. in the Roman Empire. It was reserved for the lowest of the low, and there were other ways of punishing criminals. You could have executed a traitor without crucifying him, without making it this long, drawn out, extremely painful, torturous death. But then Pilate goes with, yeah, let's. I guess, well, I'll just have to give in, and we'll do this the most horrible way possible.
Well, it's an interesting question as to we've talked about the politics of this particular depiction before. Yes, he is the overlord, but he doesn't want a riot on his hands. If Pilate is surrounded by a lot of very angry people who are demanding this, and I mean, I sort of sit on a slightly different position to Pilate, is that to a degree he doesn't care. Pilate to a degree just wants a quiet life. Yes, he wants to do right and good, but also this isn't a hill he's particularly interested in dying on. And so maybe there's that aspect to Pilate as well. I say other depictions of Pilate are available, so there is perhaps some room for manoeuvre here. Eric, then Alan.
Well, I was going to say that also because there's a lot of talk about like the level of violence here. It's escalated since the previous one. We said this last time as well, where it started off with like a sort of casual beating, whatever you want to call that, air quotes. Then sort of it escalated to sort of beating with a hood on top and like flogging and that kind of thing. And now we've got the crucifixion, which is coming. Yeah.
And we've had a lengthy stage direction as well, and that takes time. What is going on now? This thing of he's going to be scourged now. So he's been whipped. He's now being scourged. Similar sort of thing. He's getting the crown of thorns, and they're mocking him. They're putting him on a stool. They're giving him a scepter. Then they're changing his clothes back again. Now they're putting the cross. So all of this takes time. Even though there is no dialogue, and it just took me 20 seconds to read that, that is 10, 15 minutes, potentially, or longer, depending on how, it may be shorter, but, it's a lengthy bit of business around a space, again, where this is how the space is being used. They're presumably going to make this progress around between the various different scaffolds that they have available in however this space is arranged. Briony, I think you were waving.
Yeah, just the sheer imagery of it as well, to sit there in the audience and see this being brought to life, especially with how ingrained religion was in people at that point. I mean, it's still, I'm not religious at all, but I've been and seen certain productions where they've reproduced the crucifixion in a very, very cleaned up theatre kind of a way, and it's still incredibly powerful. So to see this in the context of the time and how kind of insinuated religion was in everything, with the crown of thorns, all of it, like this is a really good use of the level of theatre and drama that exists within the Bible.
Alan, then Rachael, then we do need to move on.
Yeah, what struck me again is how well the End Town plays play with emotional balance, because you get that initial speech from Satan at the beginning of this play, then the riposte from the demon of, hold on mate, that's not a good idea, which lightens the whole mood. And they do seem to be playing very, very well with the tragedy comedy balance, which I think would be very, very effective with a live audience.
Yeah, and remember, with what we've started with today is also effectively the middle. We've just gone from the whipping with Herod, and there's processional stuff going on. There's always a slight question as to how comic demons may be received at the time, but even so, it is a lightening of the focus of the energy of the scene. So it's structured very, very well in that sense, that it pays for the quieter moments, like that moment with Pilate and Jesus, with moments that are much more active and much more energized, and also crueler and lighter. And Yeah, Rachael. Sorry, I was talking there. I said I wasn't going to do that. Oh.
No, I was just gonna say that the scene, this scene, and then the scene that we had last time, they're just so violent. And by the scene we had last time, I mean the one where they're like beating him and spitting on him, and just how escalated all of a sudden the violence becomes. Like it really does go from like, you know, it really travels so fast from 0 to really messed up that it's kind of like The Departed or like one of those type movies, or like I think of like mob movies like The Godfather where they have the horse like in the it's just this shock violence. And then sympathetic character type thing when I meant with Pilate is like he's got a name and we know his wife, and he even washes his hands in this. Like he washes his hands of this matter, and he's even his neutrality is something better than murder this man, we want to see him dead.
Okay, we will move on into the entirely artificial break of this into play 32. We have a little bit of stage direction from the previous artificial break in this play, but it's all still the same action. So Jesus has the cross, he is bearing it, it's drawn forth with ropes. Then they shall come to 2 women weeping and with their hands wringing, saying thus.
Alas, Jesus, alas, Jesus, woe is me that thou art thus despoiled, alas. Yet never default was found in thee, but ever thou hast been full of grace.
Ah, here is a rueful sith of Jesus, so good that he shall thus die against the right. Ah, wicked men, ye be more than wood to do that Lord so great despite.
And here Jesus turneth again to the women with his cross, thus saying,
Daughters of Jerusalem, for me weepeth naught, but for yourself weepeth, and for your children also. For the days shall come that they had after sought. Here sin and here blindness shall turn him to woe. Then shall be said, Blessed be the wombs that bear in me, and woe to the tatties days that do give soaking. And to hear fathers they shall be saying, Woe to the time that thou begot me, and to hear mothers, alas, where shall be our dwelling? Then to the hills and mountains they shall cry and call, Open and hide us from the face of him sitting in throne, or else overthroweth and on us now come fall, that we may be hid from our sorrowful moan.
And here Jesus turneth from the women and goeth forth, and there they meet with Simon of Cyrene in the place, and the Jews saying to him,
Sir, to thee a word of good. A man is here, thou mayest see, beareth heavy of a rood, whereon he shall hanged be. Therefore, we pray all thee, thou take the cross of the man, bear it with us to Calvary, and right great thank thou shalt have.
Sir, I may not in no degree. I have great errands for to do. Therefore, I pray you, excuse me, and on my errand let me go.
What, harlot, hast thou scorned to bear the tree when we thee pray? Thou shalt bear it, hadst thou sworn, and it were 10 times the way.
Sirs, I pray you, displease you naught. I will help to bear the tree. Into the place it shall be brought, where ye will command me.
And here Simon taketh the cross of Jesus and beareth it forth.
Ah, ye sinful people, why fare thus? For sweat and blood he may not see. Alas, holy prophet Christ Jesus, careful is mine heart for thee.
And Veronica wipeth his face with her kerchief, or more properly, veil.
Veronica, thy weeping doth me ease. My face is clean that was black to see. I shall them keep from all my sins, that looken on thy courtesy and remember me.
Then shall they pull Jesus out of his clothes and lean them together, and there they shall pull him down and lay him along the cross, and after that nailing him thereon.
Come on now, Here we shall essay if the cross for thee be meet. Cast him down here in the devil way. How long shall he standing on his feet?
Pull him down, evil mote he thee, and give me his arm in haste, and anon we shall see his good days they shall be past.
Give his other arm to me, another take head to his feet, and anon we shall see if it bores be for him meet.
This is meat. Take good heed. Pull out that arm to thee sore.
This is short, the devil him speed by a large foot and more.
Fast on a rope and pull him long, and I shall draw thee again. Spare we not these ropes strong, thou we breast both flesh and vein.
Drive in the nail anon. Let's see and look and the flesh and sinews well last.
That I grant, so mote I thee. Lo, this nail is drive right well and fast.
Cast a rope then to his feet, and draw him down long now.
Here is a nail for both good and great. I shall drive it through, I make a vow.
And here shall they leave off and dance about the cross shortly.
Lo, fella, here a lithe take on a tree.
Yea, and I trow thou art a worthy king.
Ah, good sir, tell me now, what helpeth thy prophecy thee?
Yeah, or any of thy false preaching.
Sir, set up the cross on the head that we may look in the face.
Yea, and we shall kneel unto our king so kend, and pray in him of his great grace.
And here when they have set him up, they shall gone before him, saying after each other thus.
Hail, King of Jews, if thou be.
Yeah, sir, as thou hangest there, flesh and bones.
Come now down of that tree.
And we will worship thee all at once.
Here shall poor commoners stand and look upon the Jews 4 or 5, and the Jews shall come to them and do make them hang the thieves.
Come on, ye knaves, and set up these 2 crosses right, and hang up these 2 thieves anon.
Yeah, and in the worship of this worthy knight, on each side of him shall hang anon.
Here the simple men shall set up these 2 crosses and hang up the thieves by the arms. And there shall the Jews cast dice for his cloves and fight and strive. And in the meantime shall Our Lady come with 3 Marys with her, and seen John with them, setting him down aside afore the cross, Our Lady swooning and mourning, and leasing, saying,
Ah, my good lord, my son so sweet, what hast thou done? Why hangest now thus here? Is there none other death to thee now meet, but the most shameful death among these thieves fair? Ah, out on my heart, why breast thou naught? And thou art maiden and mother, and sayest thus thy child spill. How mayst thou abide this sorrow and this woeful thought? Ah, death, 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 why wilt thou not me kill?
And here Our Lady shall swoon again, which is lucky because she's doubling as somebody else in just a moment. And our Lord shall sayen thus.
O Father Almighty, Maker of men, forgive these Jews that done me woe. Forgive him, Father, forgive him then, for they wet not what they do.
Yeah, Vath now. Here is he that bade us destroy our temple on a day, and within days 3 he should rise it again in good array.
Now and thou can do such a did, help now thyself if that thou can. And we shall believe in on thee withouten dread, and saying thou art a mighty man.
Yeah, if thou be God's son, as thou did teach, from the cross come now down. Then of mercy we shall thee beseech, and saying thou art a Lord of great renown.
If thou be God's son, as thou didst say, help here now, both thee and us. But I find it not all in my faith that thou shouldst be Christ, God's son, Jesus.
And on the cross, Dysmas
You
says...
wait. Do way, fool, why say'st thou so? He is the Son of God, I believe it well. And sin did he never, lo, that he should be put this death till. But we full meck wrong han wrought. He did never thing amiss. Now mercy, good Lord, mercy, and forget me not when thou comest to thy kingdom and to thy bliss.
Amen, amen, thou art full wise. That thou hast asked, I grant thee. This time day in paradise with me thy God thou shalt there be.
Oh, my son, my darling dear, why have I defended thee? Thou hast spoke to all those that be here, and not a word thou speakest to me. To the Jews that are full kenned, thou hast forgive all here misdeed, and the thief thou hast in mend, for once asking mercy, heaven is his meed. Ah, my sovereign Lord, why wilt thou not speak to me that am thy mother in pain for thy wrong? A heart, why wilt thou not break, that I were out of this sorrow so strong?
Ah, woman, woman, behold there thy son, and thou, John, take her for thy mother. I charge thee to keep her as bestly as thou can. Thou, a clean maid, shall keep another. To take this manhood of thee, Adam's ransom to pay. For this is the will and my Father's intent, that I shall thus die to deliver men from the devil's prey. Now, sin it is the will of my Father, it should thus be. Why should it displease thee, mother, now my death so sore? And for to suffer all this for men, I was born of thee, to the bliss that men had lost, men again to restore.
Here Our Lady shall rise and run and holds the cross.
Ah, good lady, why do you thus? Your doleful cheer now cheveth sore, and for the pain of my sweet Lord Jesus, that he saith in you, it paineth him more.
I pray you all, let me be here and hang me up here on this tree. Be my friend and son that me is so dear, for there he is, and there would I be.
Gentle lady, now leave your mourning and go with us now, will you pray, and comfort the Lord his departing, for he is almost ready to go his way.
And here they shall take Our Lady from the cross, and we will continue in just a moment. So, yes, we're going from, again, a journey to a piece of practical workmanship of raising the cross, or more importantly, nailing Jesus to the cross. There isn't that much dialogue to go with that. But I think actions are going to speak somewhat louder than words for that sequence. And of course, they then also have the two thieves to put up as well, which again, partly I think explains the scale of these two passion plays in terms of having these areas where, you know, if we have 3 scaffolds or more, you know, there's a certain logic to that, because then you've got a scaffold per cross. That doesn't mean that's how it's done. I don't know. But there is a logic to having a lot of space, because it takes a lot of space and a lot of people, depending on how you do it. Raising a cross is not easy as a practical thing. Thoughts in the room, Briony?
Just that right at the end there is another really huge, powerful image moment. I imagine her just being really, really distressed and having to be pretty much dragged away from that cross. And that, like I say, for the audience, is just going to be like massive.
Yes, she's embracing the cross at his feet. I mean, you know, and it does take her friends to, you know, her Mary, Magdalen, and John to take her away. You know, it's a massive moment. Of a play with quite a few of those, it's playing a different direction of emotion here as well, or a different kind of we're seeing pain, but we're also seeing suffering of a different kind as well. Briony again.
But hopefully that does mean that we've got a little bit of something a bit lighter coming up shortly.
In a bit.
Crossed.
In a bit.
Even-
I mean,
even if it's just a
the general shape of the narrative, remember, is we know that the good times are coming after all this. So there is always that hope element.
Even if it's like a dark joke, they've been pretty good at that light and shade. Even if it's something still a little bit grim, I think they'll try and be something. I hope soon.
Mm. I don't think we're that far away from something, but I'm not sure how far we've got to travel before we get that. Other thoughts? Eric?
Presumably, there's not a lot of dialogue during that scene with the nailing because, supposedly Jesus would be screaming. So, it's like...
It's a really interesting question whether he is supposed to or not. Helen, you may be disagreeing, but I can't hear you.
I would say not.
Mm.
I think superhuman stoicism is the order of the day here.
Mm. It's an open question. There are no indications. And there isn't that much dialogue. We have other crucifixions where there is a lot more debate about the best way to actually arrange the body and to hang on. No, what this arm's longer than the other. He doesn't quite line up with the holes. This keeps the dialogue actually. It's still cruel, but it's relatively short and simple. But then they do some dancing. I don't know if I misread that. Because that stage direction just came out of the blue at me. They're having a little dance around him. I mean, there's something really grotesque about that. Rachael.
No, about the dancing and the screaming part. I wonder if there's the stoicism, if there's some sort of musical instruments around here, and if they're just using drums or something for the sound of the nail to, really, I don't know, startle people in that silence, except for the sound of nails. And then the dancing part, I also wonder if that's supposed to look like, paintings of witches dancing around, or I don't know what bear baiting looks like. Something, maybe some other image that they would recognize that had some sort of sinister connotation.
Mm. The dancing around is positively demonic in that sense.
Mm.
Let us complete this semi-artificial unit of action in terms of the way these texts are broken up. I can't promise any light yet, but maybe a slightly different shade of dark. They've taken Our Lady from the cross, and here shall Pilate come down from his scaffold with Caiaphas and Annas, and all here many shall come and look on Christ, and Annas and Caiaphas shall scornfully say,
Lo, sirs, lo, beholdeth and see, here hangeth he that helped many a man. And now, if he God's son be, help now himself, if that he can.
Yeah, and if thou King of Israel be, come down off the cross amongst us all, and let thy God now deliver thee, and then our King we will thee call.
Here shall Pilate ask in a pen and ink, and a table shall be taken to him written afore, Hic est Jesus Nazarenus Rex Judorum, and he shall make him to write, and then gone up a ladder, and set in the tablet above Christ's head. And then Caiaphas shall maken him to read and say,
Sir Pilate, we marvel of us this, that ye write him to be King of Jews. Therefore we would that ye should write thus, that he named himself King of Jews.
That I have written it is, and so it shall be for me, Judeus.
and so forth. All they shall gone again to the scaffold, and Jesus shall cry,
Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. My Father in heaven on high, Why dost thou me forsake? The frailty of my mankind with strong pain it ginneth to pend. Dear Father, have me in mend, and let death my sorrows slake.
Methink he this doth call Heli. Let us go near and espy, and look if he come privily from cross him down to Reve.
So great a thrust did never men take as I have, men, now for thy sake. For trust asunder my lips gin crake, for dryness they do cleave.
Your thrusts, Sir Hubbard, for the slake, easel and gazzle and gull here I thee take. What, methinketh the mow ye make, is this not good drink? To cry for drink ye had great haste, and now it seemeth it is but waste. Is not this drink of good taste? Now tell me what you think.
On loft, Sir Hobard, now ye be set. We will no longer with you let, and we grate you well on the new get, and make on you a mow.
We greet you well with a scorn, and pray you both even and morn, take good heed to our corn, and chare away the crow.
In manus tua, Domine. Holy Father in Afflacy, I commend my spirit to thee, for here now handeth my fast. I shall go slay the fiend that freak, for now mine heart beginneth to break, words more shall I none speak. Nunc consummatum est.
Alas, alas, I leave too long to see my sweet son with pains strong, as a thief on cross doth hong, and never yet did he sin. Alas, my dear child to death is dressed, now is my care well more increased. Ah, mine heart with pain is pressed, for sorrow mine heart doth twin.
Ah, blessed maid, change your thought, for though your son with sorrow be sought, yet by his own will this work is wrought, and wilfully his death to take. You to keep he charged me here, I am your servant, my lady dear. Wherefore I pray you be of good cheer, and mirths that ye make.
Thou he had never of me be born, and I say his flesh thus all to torn, on back behind and breast beforn, rent with wounds wide, needs I must one in woo, to see my friend with many a foe, all to rent from top to toe, his flesh without an hide.
Ah, blessed lady, as I you tell, had he not died, we should to hell. Among his fiends there ever to dwell in pains that be smart. He suffereth death for our trespass, and through his death we shall have grace to dwell with him in heaven place. Therefore be'th merry in heart.
Ah, dear friend, well woot I this, that he doth buy us to his bliss, but yet of mirth evermore I miss when I see this sight.
Now, dear lady, therefore I you pray, for this doleful dulder wend we our way. For when this sight ye see not may, your care may wax more light.
Now sith I must part him fro, yet let me kiss ere that I go, his blessed feet that suffer and woe, nailed on this tree. So cruelly with great despite, thus shamefully was never man dight. Therefore in pain mine heart is pight, all joy departeth from me.
And here she falls to the ground as though dead.
Now, blessed maid, come forth with me, no longer this sight that ye see. I shall you guide in this country where that it pleaseth you best.
Now, gentle Johann, my son's darling, to God's temple thou me bring, that I may pray God with sore weeping and mourning that is priest.
All your desires shall be wrought, with hearty will I work your thought. Now, blessed maid, tarrieth naught in the temple that ye wear, for holy prayer may change your mood, and cause your cheer to be more good. When ye see that you're not your child's blood, the last may be your care.
And then John's leads Mary to the temple, saying as they go,
Here in this temple my life I lead, and serve my Lord God with heartily dread. Now shall weeping me food and feed, some comfort till God send. Ah, my Lord God, I thee pray, when my child riseth the third day, comfort then thine hand may, my care for to amend.
And here we will pause, and in fact in a moment we will have what we might describe as a brief intermission from this particular play. Yes, Jesus has died. It's an interesting question as to whether a nunc consummatum est is said or is a stage direction. It could work as either. I don't know. I haven't looked at whether it rhymes or fits the scanning. But it works perfectly well as that. An interesting point about the drinking of being asked for a drink and being given vinegar. It's not necessarily a thing of cruelty, because it's effectively something that will dull the pain that they would give to people being crucified. So it's not necessarily a cruel act. It's a thing soldiers did to people. I do need to check up on that particular point, but I believe that is the case. Helen.
Yes, the nunc consummatum est is biblically it's the one of the last words. I mean, it should be said by Christ. It may be a stage direction, but it shouldn't be.
Yeah. No, it seems to be a dialogue. It's just I raised the query. Alan.
Yeah, I mean the vinegar thing brings back recollections of my Bible study classes of 60 years ago. So I'd agree with you on that one. But I mean it's an effective staging and in a fairly economical way.
Yes,
there's room for a hell of a lot of business around it, but the verbiage is short to the point.
Yes, there is very little fat on this at all. It is effectively these are two plays and they're condensing into a relatively short area of time quite a lot. They're not, if you think of these as a single event you're going to go to, each passion play with a year's space, they're not excessively long entertainments, he said. They're more ritual than entertainment. I'll go to Eric, then Aliki.
I was just going to say that it's interesting. Well, I've got 2 points. That it's interesting that it's the Jews that do the nailing and the thing. It's not like soldiers or anything. Or I mean, they might be soldiers, like sort of mercenaries or something. But it's basically Judeus 1, 2, 3. Also, my second point is that this bit with John and Maria, or Mary, depending on what you want to call it, is reminded me a lot of that. I don't know if it's an in-town play that we did or some other play that we did with the raising of Lazarus, where the neighbors came in from next door and went, "Oh, don't cry. He was sick. He'll be fine." And it's like, "Yeah, he's with the," I don't know, or something to that effect. And it was like, "Yeah, he's dead. It's fine. Move on."
Well, we did 2 liturgical plays, Christ's Burial and Christ's Resurrection, where and Christ's burial is very much an exposition of every different way you can describe people grieving. So you have people who are very demonstrative, those who are very practical as a part of their grieving process of saying, right, we need to do this now and we need to do this. And there was it's an incredibly emotional text, and it's all about the emotion in a way that this is doing slightly. It is mixing it up along with other things, and spending a lot less time on it. So it's really interesting that different plays are focusing on slightly different things, but they're managing to cram them all in. Aliki, sorry.
Just to pick up the vinegar again, I think the deal with it is that there was opium dissolved in it. Or poppy juice or something to that effect. So yeah, definitely painkiller.
But it's presented as this bad thing, this is the thing that it's such a cruel thing for them to have done, where actually it wasn't.
Yeah, I loathe vinegar, and I remember reading that as a child and thinking that was the worst bit of it all. But there's something about kind of the practicalities of the nailing him up and raising of the cross that, I don't know, there was a lot of like memory of actually building something together in that, and that makes it worse somehow.
Mm. Yes, there is a sort of workman vibe to it all. Yes, Briony.
So that would, I don't think I was supposed to have had the effect that it did have on me, but if I was staging this, then that it had the light bit that I was after everything, because that conversation between John and Maria is just ridiculous. And then when she falls down as if dead, I just imagined some ridiculous drag queen death drop there, and then her just like talking from lying on the floor and being carried out by people to the temple. And as she gets, towards the end, well, actually, yeah, I'm not looking at him anymore. I'm not really that sad anymore. Let's go. Let's leave my life.
It just goes to show it is always very easy to take one step away from tragedy to comedy. I mean, it's the element of Pilate here. Getting a ladder, nailing up his bit of, which I always find odd that they do it after they've raised it. I do that beforehand. Just the getting the ladders and getting up there. It's another bit of business. It's another thing that you physically have to do. And we're going to get to another question of things you physically have to do, which is, of course, now you've got the body up there. Later on, they're going to have to get it down again. And the logistics of that. Helen?
I think one of the problems they've got here is that the Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews sign was put there by the Romans, and the Jews protested at it. But if you've got the Jews doing the crucifying, then you've got to separate the putting up of the sign. Whereas I think in the gospel accounts, they kind of go up together.
Yes, and it's an interesting question. Eric's point about who is doing the actual crucifying there is interesting, because sometimes it is dust down as soldiers, sometimes they're just sort of effectively numbers. You're not 100% certain who's doing the actual legwork. At this point in the text, it is suggested that they are Judeus. But maybe there's a confusion in the manuscript, and it's an interesting question for how you stage it. Alan, we need to move on, but quickly?
Just a very quick one. If the Romans are in charge, they're going to get the subject people to do the dirty work. Maybe.
Certainly that's the gloss we could go for this production. Anyway, we are now going to go somewhere else. Jesus is. So this is not part of the Passion Play. This is a separate play from some other mystery source. Maybe from an original putative cycle that much of the rest of N Town is from, but it is not from the Passion sequence. We're reasonably certain that it has nothing to do with it, and the editor of this text, this single manuscript, has crowbarred half of the Harrowing of Hell in here. So this is play 33, as it's known, Harrowing of Hell. It's part 1 of the Harrowing of Hell. Jesus is reborn here as Anima Christi.
Now all mankind in heart be glad, with all mirths that may be had, for man's soul that was beset in the lodge of hell. Now shall I rise to live again, and pain to please of paradise plain. Therefore, man, in heart be fain, in mirth now shalt thou dwell. I am the soul of Christ Jesus, the which is King of all virtue. My body is dead, the Jews it slew, that hangeth yet on the road, rent and torn, all bloody red. For man's sake my body is deed, for man's help my body is bread, and soul drink my body's blood. Thou, my body, be now slain. Oh, though my body be now slain, the third day this is certain, I shall rise my body again, to live as I, you say. Now will I go straight to hell, and fetch from the fiend's fell all my friends that therein dwell, to bliss that licit aye.
And the soul goes to hell's gates and saith some stuff in Latin, which you're now going to say in English.
Right. Undoth your gates of Salvatori. One man's soul I have memory. Here cometh now the King of glory, these gates for to break. You devils that are here within, hell gates you shall unpin. I shall deliver man's kin from woe, I will him wreck.
Alas, alas, out and hurrah! Unto thy bidding we must bow. That thou art God now, do we know. Of thee we had great doubt. Against thee may nothing stand, all things obeyeth to thine hand. Both heaven and hell, water and land, all things must to thee lout.
Against me it were but worse to holden or to standen fast. Hell lodge may not last against the King of glory. Thy dark door down I trow, my fair friends, now well I know, I shall him bring reckoned berow out of here purgatory.
And we stop here at this cliffhanger moment because you will not find out what happens here until tomorrow, or the next video slash podcast, because we're now gonna he's knocking on hell's gates. What's going to happen next? But we're returning to the earthly realm now. So we've had a brief. Jesus' soul has gone down to hell to ram raid Satan, and that's where we leave it. It's an interesting editorial choice that has split this play into two parts. Any brief thoughts from the room? It's almost we should wait till tomorrow. But Helen,
Yeah, I think we do it harm not to have the rather sonorous Latin, because that of the Harrowing of Hell plays that I've seen, that's the bit I like when he says "Atolite portas." Lift up your head, Zoe gates, and be lift up, ye everlasting doors.
Which is an interesting question, whether that Latin is supposed to be said or not. It isn't as part. It isn't set. It is just said in the stage direction, so it may be said. It may not be said.
The soul goeth to hell's gates and saith.
Yes,
That's
but he
good enough to
saith
me.
the bit underneath it is a literal translation of the bit that is said in Latin, so that could be just a gloss.
All right.
I'm not saying it shouldn't be. I'm just saying it might not be.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be bothered.
It's the best bit.
Says Helen. Right.
It gives it authority. Doing it in Latin gives it more authority.
Okay.
I'm old-fashioned like that.
Eric.
I was just going to say, obviously, we've just seen this bit, which is kind of like, hey, this is what's happening now in the parallel universe. But I was just going to say that it's interesting how it could technically reflect the whole temple scene that we had, well, which we haven't, I don't remember reading one, but I mean, we've probably done it. Like, sort of breaking into and casting people out of the temple, and this one.
Yes, which doesn't, I think, feature in any, or only in passing, in any of the mystery plays. I don't think they do it. They don't touch much on his life and works. There's a few incidents that get done a lot, and that's about it.
But it gets mentioned, like they did mention it
yeah.
in, like about a few lines ago.
Name checks. Yeah. Here's what you could have won. So anyway, that's an entirely separate play, which we will complete tomorrow. We're now going to return to the point where we were. So Mary has just gone into the temple. There may be other material. There are interesting questions here about who the speakers are, because we now have soldiers 1, 2, 3, and 4 speaking, and whether they are effectively the same people who were doing the crucifixion earlier, or whether these are now Roman soldiers as explicitly separate people, is an interesting question, and whether even this is exactly the same text as we left earlier. But we're working on the principle that a lot of what we're about to read is from the Passion Play, but not necessarily all of it. Keep an ear out for any egregious changes in verse style. So, what's known as play 34, and we're going to have a burial, and we're going to have a guarding of the sepulchre. We can assume the burial is from the Passion Play number 2. Centurio and soldiers.
In truth, now I know with full open sight that God's dear Son is nailed on tree. These wonderful tokens are proven full right. Quod vere filius Deus erat iste.
The very child of God I suppose that he be, and so it seemeth well be his wonderful work. The earth sore quaketh, and that agreeseth me. With mist and great weather it is wonder dark.
Such marvels shown may none earthly man. The air is right dark that first was right clear. The earth wave is great. The clouds wax when. These tokens prove him a lord without any peer.
His father is peerless king of most empire, both lord of this world and king of heaven high. Yet out of all sin, to bring us out of danger, he suffereth his dear son for us all to die.
Alas, alas, what sight is this? To see the Lord and King of bliss, that never sinned ne did amiss, thus nailed upon a road. Alas, Jews, what have you wrought? You wicked wights, what was your thought? Why have you bobbed and thus beaten out all this blessed blood?
Now truly tell well I can, that this was God's own Son. I know he is both God and man, by this work that is here done. There was never man, but God that could make this work, that ever was of woman born. Were he never so great a clerk, it passed him all they had sworn. His law was true, I dare well say, that he taught us here among. Therefore, I rede ye turn to your fay, and amend that ye han do wrong.
O good Lord Jesu, thou diedst now here on the rood. Have mercy on me and forgive me my miss. I would thee worship here with my good, that I may come to bliss. To Pilate now will I go and ask the body of my Lord Jesu, to bury that now would I soon in my grave that is so new. Hail Pilate, hail Sir Pilate that sitteth in seat, hail Justice of Jews, men do thee call. Hail with health, I do thee greet, I pray thee of a boon whatso befall. To bury Jesus' body I will thee pray, that he were out of men's sith, for tomorrow shall be our holiday, then will no man him bury, I thee plith. And if we let him hang there still, some would say thereof ano, the people thereof would say full ill, that nother should be your worship nor prow.
Sir Joseph of Aramathea, I grant thee, with Jesus' body, do thine intent. But first I thee weet that he did be as it was his judgment. Sir Knights, I command that ye go in haste with Joseph of Aramathea, and look ye take good heed thereto that Jesus surely did be. See that this commandment ye fulfill with no words any more, and then let Joseph do his will, that what that he will with Jesus do.
And here come 2 knights before Pilate at once, thus saying.
So we shall do our diligence with Joseph going to Calvary. Be we out of thy presence, soon the truth we shall espy.
Gramercy, Pilate, of your gentleness, that ye han granted me my list. Anything in my province ye shall have at your request.
Sir, all your lest ye shall have with Jesus' body, do your intent. Whether ye bury him in pit or grave, the power I grant you here present.
And the two knights go with Joseph to Jesus and stand and look at him in the face.
Methinketh Jesu is sure enow. It is no need his bones to break. He is dead, how thinketh you? He shall never go nor speak.
We will be sure, or then we go. Of a thing I am bethought. Yonder is a blind knight I shall go to, and soon a while here shall be brought.
And here the knight goeth to blind Longeus and saith,
Hail, Sir Longeus, thou gentle knight. Thee I pray now right heartily that thou wilt wend with me full with. It shall be for thy prow, verily.
Sir, at your commandment with you I will wend, in what place you will me have. For I trust that ye, be my friend, lead me forth, sir, our Sabbath you save.
Lo, Sir Longeus, here's a spear, both long and broad and sharp enow. Have it up fast enough, fast that it wore there, for here is game. Show, man, show.
O good Lord, how may this be that I may see so bright now? This pretty winter I may not see, and now I may see I wot never how. But how is this that hangeth here now? I trow it be the maiden's son, and that he is now, I know well how the Jews to him this villainy have done.
and here he falleth down on his knees.
Now, good Lord, forgive me that I do thee now have done. For I did wist not what, the Jews of mine ignorance did me rave. Mercy, 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 I cry.
I'll just briefly pause here because I think explicating some of this is not unimportant. So Nicodemus and Joseph Arimathea go to Pilate. They want to take down the body, if we could, please, sir, please, sir. And Pilate's only concerned, look, make sure he's dead. And as a bit of sport, they get a blind, retired Roman soldier there to wield the spear. And as he spears Jesus' side, he either from the falling blood or just simply from the action, his blindness disappears, and he repents of what he has done. Roughly speaking, that's it, unless I glossed any of that wrongly. It's an odd element of the story. But there are lots of odd little moments, like the cutting off of the ear during the fight in the Garden of Gethsemane. So yeah, it's one of those things. Briony.
Yeah, it just feels so shoehorned in there to get part of this story that we all know has to be as it is, and as it's written down, and B, those naughty Jews making the nice Romans do all this. Gosh, what naughty people they are.
Aliki.
It occurs to me that one of the things that this text, if it is the same text, is doing is giving you origin stories for really famous relics. The veil of Veronica, the bits of the true cross, and the spear of Longinus. And it wants to make sure you know, because these are presumably places of pilgrimage or whatever. Yeah.
Sources of revenue for the church.
Well, I was going to say, I wonder if there's any merchandise available. You've seen it in the play. Now take home a replica, only $14.99. I wouldn't put it past anyone. Helen, then Eric.
Well, the spear and the true icon, Vera icon, the Veronica handkerchief, are both in St. Peter's in Rome. I don't know. The crown of thorns, I think, was in Paris. But I might have got that wrong.
And there's more bits of the true cross than you did to make several.
No. That is absolutely not true. Somebody actually did a calculation. And that was made up by some beastly Protestant.
Yes, don't let the Reformation get you down. Eric.
I was going to say about the pilgrimage stuff, we could just ask Sir Guy of Warwick. Who is perfectly reliable in all his narration and all the things he's done. Yeah, sorry, I just, yeah.
Okay, that was a brief sojourn just to make sure everyone was still with us. We have some practical work to do. Remember that Jesus is still on the cross. So then Joseph of Aramathea doth set up the ladders, and Nicodemus cometh to help him.
Joseph ab Aramathea, blessed thou be, for thou dost a full good deed. I pray thee, let me help thee, that I may be partner of thy meed.
Nicodemus, welcome indeed. I pray you, ye will help thereto. He will acquit us right well our meed, and I have license for to do.
And here Joseph and Nicodemus taken Christ off the cross, and on one ladder, and on the t'other is on another ladder. So there's two ladders. And when he is had down, Joseph layeth him in Our Lady's lap, saying, the knights turned him, and a Joseph saith,
Lo Mary, mother good and true, here is thy son, bloody and blue. For him mine heart full sore doth rue. Kiss him now, once ere he go.
Ah, mercy, mercy, mine own son, so dear. Thy bloody face now I must kiss. Thy face is pale withouten cheer. Of much joy now shall I miss. There was never mother that say this. So her son despoiled with so great woe, and my dear child never did amiss. Ah, mercy, Father of heaven, it should be so.
Mary, your son ye take to me, into his grave it shall be brought.
Joseph, blessed ever mote thou be, for the good did that ye han wrought.
and here they shall lay Christ in his grave.
I give thee this Sidney that I have bought, to wind thee in while it is new.
It is an ointment that I have brought to anoint withal my Lord Jesu.
Now Jesu is within his grave, which I ordain sometime for me. On thee, Lord, I vouch it save. I know my meed full great shall be.
Now let us lay on this stone again, and Jesu in this tomb still shall be. And we will walk home full plain, the day passeth fast, I see. Farewell, Joseph, and well ye be, no longer tarrying here we make.
Sir, Almighty God be with thee. Into his bliss he mote you take.
Farewell, ye gentle princes kenned, in joy ever mote ye be. The bliss of heaven without an end, I know verily that ye shall see.
And here the princes shall do reverence to Our Lady and go their way and leave the Marys at the sepulchre. Caiaphas goes to Pilate, saying thus,
Hark, Sir Pilate, listen to me. I shall thee tell tidings new. Of one thing we must ware be, ere else hereafter it might it rue. Thou wottest well that Jesu, he said to us with words plain, he said that we should find it true, the third day he would rise again. If that his disciples come certain, and out of his grave steal him away, they will go preach and plain saying that he is risen the third day. This is the counsel that I give here. Take men and give him charge thereto, to which the grave with great power till the third day be go.
Sir Caiaphas, it shall be do, for as ye say, there is peril in, and it and it happened that it were so. It might make our laws for to blend. Ye shall see, sir, ere that ye go, how I shall this matter save, and what I shall say thereto, and what charge they shall have. Come forth, ye Sir Amarant and Sir Arphaxat. Come near also Sir Cosdrum and Sir Offront, and hear the charge that ye must do. Sirs, to Jesus' grave ye shall go, till that the third day be gone, and let neither friend nor foe in no way touch the stone. If any of his disciples come there to fetch the body from you away, Beat him down, have ye no fear with shameful death do him day. In pain of your gods and your lives, that ye let him not shape you fro, and of your children and your wives, for all ye less, and ye do so.
Sir Pilate, we shall not cease. We shall keep it strong enow.
Yeah, and 100 put him in press. They shall die, I make a vow.
And 100, fie on 100, and 100 there too. There is none of him shall us withstand.
Yeah, and there come 100,000 and mo. I shall kill him with mine hand.
Well, sirs, then your part ye do, and to your charge look ye take heed, without words any more, wisely now that you proceed.
And here the knights go out of the place.
So, Sir Caiaphas, how thinketh you? Is this not well brought about?
Faith, sir, it is sure no. Hardly have ye no doubt.
Let's see, Sir Amarant, where will ye be? Will ye keep the feet or the head?
At the head, so mote I thee, and whoso come here, he is but dead.
And I will keep the feet this tide. Thou there come both Jack and Gill.
And I shall keep the right side, and whoso come, I shall him kill.
And I will on the left hand bean, and whoso come here, he shall never then. Full suckily his bane I shall bend, with dints of doubt. Sir Pilate, have a good day. We shall keepen the body in clay, and we shall waken well the way, and waiten all about.
Now, gentle sirs, will ye vouchsafe to go with me and seal the grave, that he may arise out of the grave that is now dead?
We grant well, let us now go. When it is sealed and kept all so, then we be secure without and woe, and have of him no dread.
And Pilate, Caiaphas, and us soldiers, etc., go to the sepulchre.
Lo, here is wax full ready dight, set on your seal, anon full right. Then he be secure, I you plight, he shall not risen again.
On this corner my seal shall sit, and with this wax I seal this pit. How dare I lay he shall never flit out of this grave, certain.
Here is more wax full ready, lo, all the corners ye seal also, and with a look it too. Then let us gone our way, and let these knights abide thereby. And if his disciples come privily to steal away this dead body, to us they him bring without delay.
On every corner now is set my seal. Now is mine heart in wealth and well. This may no bribor away now steal this body from under stone. Now, Sir Bishop, I pray to thee, and Annas also, come with me, even together all we three, homeward the way we goen. As wind wroth, knights now goeth, clapped in cloth, and keepeth him well. Look ye be bold, with me for to hold, ye shall have gold and helm of steel.
And Pilate, Annas, and Caiaphas go to their scaffolds, and the knights say,
Now in this ground he lieth bound, that solid wound, for he was false. This left corner I will keep here, armed clear, both head and house.
I will have this side whatso betide. If any man ride to steal the course, I shall him chide with wounds wide, upon him glide with fine force.
The head I take, hereby to wake, a steel stake I hold in hand, masters to make, crowns I crake, shafts to shake, and shapen shond.
I shall not let to keep the feet. They are full wet, waltered in blood. He that will stalk, be brook or balk, hither to walk, though wretches be wood.
Mine head dulleth, mine heart fulleth of sleep. Saint Mahound, this burying ground thou keep.
I say the same, for any blame I fall. Mahomed, whelp, after thine help I call.
I am heavy as lead for my dread. For any dread I sleep, my hound of might. This stone tonight thou keep.
I have no foot to stand on root by brink, ere I ask to go to task a wink.
And thus ends this unit of action. I've noticed in the chat various people noticing the inconsistencies in the scene that we have just had. Anyone wish to put in where they think the cut and shunt between the two plays occurred? It is relatively searchable. Alan.
Yeah, I think effectively the first conversation between the four incompetents, the guards, which appears weird with the stage directions anyway, because the locus seems to shift there and back. I think that there's possibly a later replacement of this bit that works in the couplets, which I actually feel works rather better, the couplet form, than the first bit.
Well, what broadly speaking, what happens is they send the soldiers off to the sepulchre, the tomb. They get to the tomb. They start having some banths, and then around about where he says, "Sir Pilate, have good day." We've suddenly jumped back to the previous scene. In a different version with a different layout of the tomb, and a slightly different relationship between Pilate, Annas, and Caiaphas. And you can sort of see what the editors tried to do here. So sadly, we don't have the end of Passion Play number 2. You know, this is it. This manuscript has decided that this is a better ending because it can mix into other things, and it's not an ending because this material goes on to other stuff later on and is part of they've just fallen asleep so that they can wake up again when Jesus is risen, or just after he's risen. So we are pausing again in a slightly artificial place, but also the text is forcing us to do so, and it's just for admin purposes, this is where we have to stop. So if it's slightly unsatisfactory, it's because that's how the plays have been cut. For, as I say, for this physical version that someone maybe commissioned for them to read at home of the best bits of various plays. Yes, we can't fully reconstruct Passion Play number 2. Passion Play number 1, we can feel reasonably confident was all there. Passion Play number 2, slightly odder questions. Because the question is, where would they end it? Do they end it on the resurrection, or where dramatically would they have done that? No idea. Anyway, Rachael, I think, is waving.
No, I was gonna say about this because I was asking in the chat, the soldiers talking about all his different body parts, and like I was like, are they taking like him apart? And then Aliki said that they were talking about guarding his body, but I wonder if they talk about guarding his body in body parts and dividing it into different body parts as some sort of reference to like the host.
I think they're just fantasizing about anyone who they would fight off from taking the body.
Okay.
I think that's what's going on there. So that the body's in the tomb, and in this pageant, shall we say, as opposed to the Passion Play, they've got wax seals. The crime scene has been taped off, and there's a chain of custody here. The soldiers are there to guard. Rachael. Lynn.
Yeah, they're tamper-proofing this a tamper-evident seal. They stay on medications in the U.S. It's weird.
Rachael again. Sorry.
No, I was this cave scene and the guarding of the grave. I forget the name, and I shouldn't forget the name, but Oedipus's daughter, the one who keeps trying to go out and see her brother's body.
Antigone.
But yeah, Antigone. It reminds me somehow of that scene.
Other thoughts? We're going into final thoughts as well, so you can sort of talk about the texts that we've got here over the course of today, and also to a degree you can think back to previous elements of these over the previous sessions if you were there. Ultimately there's an element of talking about this as material that you might want to do things with because it's already had things done to it, so it's not like we even need to pretend about structural integrity here. We can dance around with what we might want to do with this or not want to do with it in parts. I'll go to Alan first, then Helen, then Briony.
There's major discrepancies between the content in the speech and the content in the stage directions. I mean, if the tomb is going to be sealed, then fine, you station 4 soldiers maybe at the 4 cardinal points around it. But the way the soldiers are speaking, it's basically one's going to stand at the head, one at the feet, one at each side, which, if you're sealing the environment, makes little or no sense. So there's an awful lot of fudging around the edges, I think one would need to do to try and make the stage directions congruent with the text.
Well, the stage directions for the bit of the text that is from that bit of text are accurate. It's just we have 2 plays cut and shunt together, so the stage directions for one do not match the stage directions for the other, if that makes sense. Ultimately, we have to make decisions about that whole sequence, whether we keep that as one sequence or whether we look for other material to make it all fit together, or whether we make additional trims or changes. Helen.
I must say, I think that the harrowing of hell needs to be taken out of where it is and put after the entombment.
Yes.
It's not only far more traditional, it also is far less confusing and far more stageable.
Yes, well, that's the thing, is the bit we've just done should really live at the beginning of the bit we're about to do. We'll start with next time. Yeah. So, maybe I'll be nice and say we'll just quickly do the bit we did last time and run it in. And we'll even do the Latin.
Aren't you kind?
Yeah.
Providing Helen's the one who's got to read it.
Oh, right.
Well, I don't know how it's cast for tomorrow, but maybe I'll move some things around. Okay, other thoughts? Briony, I think.
Just although there are these inconsistencies with how it's been edited previously and things, there is still this, I like the light and shade of this, and the way even the light bits are still quite shady, but I am okay with that, the darkness of the humour on those bits, and I don't know whether or not all of it is there or whether it's some of it's just my dark humour, just seeing things out of context now historically that I would make funny. But yeah, I like it. I think the 4 soldiers there, that could be a nice comedy bit.
It's interesting, even though those soldiers are written in slightly different terms, they've got a very different verse style. They do seem quite consistent in character, actually, between the 2 texts, even when we jump from one text to another. So it's quite interesting that they are slight comic relief. They're not supposed to be very good at their job. To be fair, they've been enchanted by angels or something, so there's only so much you can expect from them. Did you have more, Briony?
I was just going to say, I don't know, I feel like maybe we were a bit, personally, I was a bit primed for that, the weirdness of that verse by the play that we did the other week with Skelton in, and just that, the randomness of him popping up every now and then. And this is it's not Skeltonics, but it's not that dissimilar from it. It's, it's like somebody's chopped his stuff up and given it to the 4 clowns sort of characters almost. But I like it, and it just, maybe that is why I don't find it quite as random as it is.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost like their verse dissolves as they're falling asleep, because it's a shorter line, then it's an even shorter line, which is quite clever. I think that's quite nicely done. I will go round for final thoughts, thinking about the stageability of this, any artistic decisions you might be interested in doing if you were here for last week, trying to connect it with stuff we've done a week ago. Valentina, you were mostly God, or the Son of God. Any final thoughts?
I still think it's I mean it's especially I mean the thing we did last week, it was more stageable than this. This you'll have to work around it a little bit more. I still think it's stageable. I don't know where you'll finish it though, like stop it though. Because it seems a bit of an odd thing to stop it at the burial. Still, maybe it's my personal history. I don't know if I would stage it. I think there's a very strong element in it that I'm not sure how the audience will receive it, because I'm sure half of the audience is gonna go like, oh, this is like, the funny bits are funny, and half of the audience is gonna be like, that's might be disrespectful, because it's a story that is so known. I don't know if there's any need to stage it. Controversial thought. Sorry.
Well, I mean, there's an element for us in terms of structurally, the mystery plays do get staged quite, a reasonable amount in adaptation or not. So, to a degree, the pressure is not on us to do this. I mean, I've already staged a version of the End Town Passion Plays, albeit with other bits of material thrown in. So, again, I personally don't have a massive desire to do so. But maybe someone out there does, or has weight. I mean, it's interesting with this sequence. There are a lot more triggers, shall we say, a lot more elements. Whereas last time we were talking about the politics of it all, and which masks and makes more fluid some of the issues, and presents potentially sides that you can play. You can give it a bit of spin to take the edge off some of the more problematic elements. Whereas here, when it goes full on, it's quite difficult to sidestep that because it's really baked in. Those trial scenes in this sequence are really, really uncomfortable. Very effective, but that's not necessarily an excuse. Final thoughts, Aliki. Do you where are you with this?
I've been thinking about what Valentina said, and I think, you'd kind of pre-select a religious audience, especially if you did it outside on a grand scale, which I think you kind of have to do. You would probably get the congregation to be the crowd scenes, and that would kind of, I agree that it's less stageable than the other for the reasons that both of you gave. It's also kind of grimly unpleasant. And then, I don't know. I don't like the rhyming couplets, Roman soldiers bit. It's just too funny. I want to giggle every time just because the very rhyme scheme makes it funny.
Eric, any final thoughts?
Well, you can see why I'm very eloquent today. I don't know. I think it's interesting if you stage it and sort of like if you want to stage it, then you have to do it not full out, but in order to, depending on the audience, you could either make them complicit and sort of give the impression that this is actually happening. This is if you I don't know, if you set it sort of against the backdrop of Palestine versus Israel, for example, that would be political. Sort of it depends what you do with it. But then it sort of becomes a different animal, doesn't it? If you sort of, it's not updated, but depending on if you change the context of it, and then also I think the text does have a few elements of sort of discrimination problems, but it kind of I think for example the tomb scene, you'd have to stage that in a very close space to make people realize what's going on, as opposed to like very open space for the big scenes, like with the crowds and stuff, and then bring it, I don't know, maybe even move them along, sort of like a tour, so to speak, which is very weird. But yeah, I don't know. It depends on your artistic decisions and your visions and your, I don't know, what do you want to do with it.
Helen, any final thoughts?
Yes, as usual, I'm not solely looking at this as a play. I mean, what we have here is a piece of religious instruction which is going to be dramatized. And it's probably the most vibrant, the most lasting, and possibly the most important piece of religious instruction that people are getting. Because they can actually see it happening. And it's being explained to them in language that is theirs, except when it goes into Latin for effect. But I don't see that this particular play is particularly important for us to try and realize, on the grounds that there are better plays, I think, in other cycles. And also, I'm not entirely sure that we have to be very careful nowadays, because people they find it difficult to separate fact from fiction. And there's an awful lot of fiction in here. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but it's what I have to say.
Yes, though of course, I will just note, we're not here to do a sorting. By the way, we're here to ask the question of what is the best face that can be brought on this. It's a bit of a shame, of course, that we're coming to the second Passion Play a week after we started it, and B, without an ending, because whereas the first Passion Play was very effective, and I think we all really got into that. Whereas the second one has a slight letdown quality to it, because the text suddenly starts going Dadaist, which is a real shame, because it would be really nice to see what we could get out of it. Alan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think, quite honestly, it's a show that would have to be done at major scale to make it work. I don't think a small scale production would be worth the effort. And the trouble is that passion plays are so common. I mean, there's been an awful lot of trailers on British TV over the last 3-4 weeks for yet another major film production of a passion play. I think the market's pretty well saturated for it.
It's not our question as to whether the market needs it. It's just what we would like to do with it. That's the question.
I think leave it to others who've got bigger budgets.
Again, not the question. I'd just move on if you don't have anything to say. Rachael, final thoughts?
No, I wonder if because like there were problematic things about the last N-Town cycle that we like tapped into, but they seem to work better as a theater piece than this one. And maybe it's when the whole thing works better as a theatrical thing that it feels like the problematic bits are a part of the story and part of the character's perspective a little bit more than the writer's perspective. Yeah, there was something else I want. Oh, about the dancing bit. If maybe that dancing bit was like the maypole or that Morris dance, and it would be like one of those things, like when you are watching a horror movie and some little kid starts singing a nursery rhyme, and you're like, oh, this is really creepy.
Yeah, Morris dancing is inherently creepy, so that would work incredibly well. Briony, any final thoughts?
Yeah, it's the stageability question, I guess, because I hadn't really thought about it until Valentina and Aliki, and because I have this kind of natural ingrained irreverence for religion, for organized religion, and then how if I'm making it from my point of view, from that standpoint, how on earth do you sell a passion play to a non-religious audience? And I hadn't really even thought about that side of it. And whilst I see it as fun and playful, and there is no malice, I don't wish any hate on any religions. I do like to poke fun at it, and that's how this would work for me. And so, yeah, it's whether or not there'd be a place for that to exist, or whether I would just get lynched.
Well, it's really interesting, actually, what the audience for a passion play is, because actually sometimes the audience is not religious, because it depends on the denomination of the religion in the locality as to whether you're doing the doctrine right. And oddly enough, religions do not always trust theatre makers, because sometimes we muck around with their God. So actually, sometimes the audience is not religious at all. Come to it from a very different standpoint. So it's a really important question, actually. Sometimes mystery plays do not actually function very well because the religious people don't want to necessarily go to it, and the non-religious people don't necessarily want to go to it. They don't always produce great box office. It's an interesting contradiction, of which I have stories for off camera. Lynn.
Yes, for me, the most troubling aspect of this text and the segments that we did last week from this same manuscript is the onstage violence. Whatever it was 15, 18 years ago, I was persuaded to go see the film version of The Passion, and I couldn't watch it. I had to look away from the screen. So maybe that's just me, but something that's concerning, I think, in putting this on its feet is the effect of the violence. You want it to be disturbing. You don't want to be desensitizing your audience to that kind of thing. So I feel like that's an aspect of the production that's really difficult and really and really troubling. And for me, it's painful to read, let alone watch. So that's the hard part for me.
Okay, a slightly more split sense about what to do with this split text than we had last time. Options abound. Thoughts in the comments. If you have opinions, feel free to share them. We may or may not listen. We don't always reply, but you're allowed to have them, and we are not necessarily here to gatekeep what you think you want to stage. That is down to what you individually may out there want to do, and what you think. So if you're interested in us looking at this, get in touch. If you're interested in doing it yourself, get in touch. We're here also to promote other people's works within reason. So even if we don't immediately leap on it, that doesn't mean to say we won't encourage other people to explore these texts in different and responsible, and I underline that word, responsible ways. On that note, all that remains is thank all these wonderful readers in the room. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.
Bye.